In the far reaches of the galaxy, on a planet called Valoria, a desperate call for help echoed through the stars. The Valorians, an advanced but frail species, faced a dire threat from a ruthless band of space pirates. Knowing they could not fend off the marauders alone, they sent out a distress signal, hoping for assistance from more powerful civilizations. What they did not expect was the response they would get. On Earth, in a small town called Maplewood, a team of scientists and military experts gathered around a round table in a dimly lit room. The air buzzed with anticipation as they watched the distress signal flash across the screen. Among them was Commander Sarah Mitchell, a determined leader with a fierce reputation. Her team included Dr. Ravi Sharma, a brilliant scientist who specialized in alien biology, and Emily Zhao, a skilled engineer known for her quick thinking. "Commander, this could be our chance to show the galaxy what humanity can do," Dr. Sharma said, excitement lighting up his eyes. "We've always been seen as the underdogs. If we help them, we might change that perception." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "We cannot ignore their call for aid. Preparation is key. We can show them what humans are made of." They began to form a plan. The team worked tirelessly, gathering technology and weapons while preparing their ship, the SS Valor, for interstellar travel. The crew trained hard, ready to take on the unexpected challenges awaiting them. As the countdown to departure began, the team felt a mix of nerves and determination. After a lengthy journey through the void of space, the SS Valor approached Valoria. When they descended onto the planet, the crew was struck by the vibrant colors and unusual flora. Tall trees with blue leaves swayed gently in a warm breeze, and bioluminescent flowers glowed softly in the twilight. As they approached a Valorian city, they were greeted by a group of thin, silver-skinned beings. Their large, almond-shaped eyes sparkled with hope, and their long, delicate fingers beckoned the crew forward. The Valorians introduced themselves, with a leader named Lyrian stepping forward. He was wise and kind but weary from the constant threat of the pirates. "Thank you for coming," Lyrian said, his voice a melodic whisper. "We fear we are running out of time. The pirates attack nightly, taking our resources and our people." Sarah could see the desperation in his eyes. "We will help you defend your home," she promised. "We'll need information about the pirates and their attacks." Lyrian explained that the pirates used advanced ships and weaponry, far superior to what the Valorians possessed. He described the last raid where they stole precious energy crystals essential for Valoria's survival. Each detail painted a grim picture, but Sarah remained resolute. As night fell, the team prepared for their first encounter with the pirates. They set up defenses around the city and strategized on how to protect the Valorians. They equipped their ship with defensive shields and weapons, ready to respond to any threat. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow. Suddenly, alarms blared as the pirates' ships descended. They were monstrous and decorated with crude symbols. The sounds of blaring horns and roaring engines filled the air. The Valorians trembled with fear, but Sarah's crew stood tall, ready to protect their new allies. The battle began. The SS Valor launched into the air, firing its weapons at approaching pirate ships. Dr. Sharma and Emily worked furiously at their controls, guiding the ship expertly. As the pirates returned fire, the vibrations shook the ship, but Sarah remained focused. "Emily, keep us steady," she ordered, her voice calm under pressure. "Ravi, target their main ship. We need to break their morale." The crew fought valiantly, pushing back against the pirates. Sarah's heart raced as they managed to damage one of the ships. The pirates began to retreat, their confidence shaken. But as one ship fell, another unleashed an unexpected barrage. Suddenly, an energy beam crashed into the SS Valor. The ship shuddered, alarms going off. "We're losing power," Emily shouted, frantically trying to stabilize their controls. "Ravi, can you reroute power from the auxiliary systems?" Sarah yelled, her voice steady despite the chaos. With quick fingers, Ravi worked tirelessly, redirecting energy. As he did, they caught sight of the pirates' leader, a massive figure clad in dark armor. He cackled, reveling in the chaos. "Fools! You think you can save these weaklings? They will always belong to us." But Sarah was not shaken. "Not while we are here." In a final push, they targeted the leader's ship, combining their power for one last strike. With a blinding flash, their attack hit home, crippling the pirate ship and sending it spiraling away. The remaining pirates, witnessing their leaders fall, fled into the depths of space, leaving Valoria safe, at least for now. The Valorians erupted in cheers, their voices mixed with relief and gratitude. Lyrian approached Sarah, his eyes shining. "You have not only saved our city but given us hope." "Thank you, Earthlings." Sarah smiled, feeling a surge of pride. This was a team effort. Together, we are stronger. As the stars twinkled brightly overhead, the crew of the SS Valor felt a new bond with the Valorians. They had faced danger and adversity, and they had emerged victorious. In the days that followed, while repairs were made and celebrations were held, friendships formed between the Valorians and the humans. Dr. Sharma walked through blooming gardens with Lyrian, sharing knowledge of their species. Emily and the Valorian engineers worked together to improve defenses for future threats. Sarah reflected on the journey, grateful for the chance to help. It filled her with hope. The galaxy was vast and full of life, but at that moment, they had all found a connection. Earth had come to provide aid, but in doing so, they had discovered they were more than just visitors. They were allies, friends, and one small part of the universe. Though the threat was gone, challenges would continue to arise. But for now, Sarah and her team had shown that they would always stand together, Earth's Deathworlders ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would embrace whatever lay beyond the stars. Captain Eva Rostova, a seasoned Earth Defense Force officer, hardened by years of conflict but still possessing a strong sense of justice. Xyler, an ambassador from the peaceful planet of Alicia, desperate for help and initially wary of the humans. Jax, a young, enthusiastic Elysian engineer who quickly adapts to human technology and becomes a valuable ally. General Volkov, the stern and pragmatic commander of the Earth Defense Force, focused on strategic objectives and the survival of humanity. Story. The distress signal flickered across the command console, a desperate plea from a world light years away. Captain Eva Rostova leaned closer, her brow furrowed. Alicia, the display read. A peaceful, agrarian planet under attack by the KRYL. The KRYL. A swarm of insectoid horrors that consumed everything in their path. Entire star systems had fallen to their insatiable hunger. "They're asking for aid, Captain," Lieutenant Chen said, his voice tight. "They know what's coming." Eva looked at the image of Alicia, a green and blue marble hanging in the void. A world of farmers and artisans, utterly defenseless against the KRYL. "General Volkov wants a report," Chen added. "He needs to know if we can spare any resources." Eva sighed. Earth was still recovering from its own wars. Resources were stretched thin. But the thought of Alicia being devoured. "Prepare a full assessment," she ordered. "I'm going to speak with the general." General Volkov's office was a Spartan space, dominated by holographic displays of ongoing conflicts. He listened to Eva's report with a grim expression. "Alicia is strategically insignificant," he said flatly. "We can't afford to divert resources. Our priority is Earth's survival." "But General," Eva protested, "they're innocent people. We can't just abandon them." Volkov turned to her, his eyes like chips of ice. "We are the Earth Defense Force, Captain. Not the galaxy's charity. Our duty is to protect humanity, first and foremost. Alicia is a lost cause." Eva knew arguing was futile. Volkov's decision was final. But she couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. Back on the bridge, she relayed the general's decision to the crew. Disappointment hung heavy in the air. Then, a message arrived from Alicia. "Ambassador Xyler requesting communication," Chen announced. Eva hesitated, then nodded. Xyler's face appeared on the main screen, his features etched with worry. He was a slender being with large, mournful eyes. "Captain Rostova," he said, his voice tinged with desperation. "We received your response. You cannot help us." Eva swallowed hard. "I'm sorry, Ambassador. Our resources are limited. We cannot spare a fleet to defend Alicia." Xyler's shoulders slumped. "I understand. We are grateful for your consideration." He paused, then added, "We face extinction. My people, they do not deserve this." His words struck a chord within Eva. She looked at her crew, at the faces of the men and women who had dedicated their lives to protecting others. An idea, a daring, reckless idea, began to form in her mind. "Ambassador," she said, "we cannot send a fleet. But perhaps we can offer something else." Volkov would have her court-martialed. But Eva didn't care. She couldn't stand by and watch Alicia be destroyed. "We have a team of engineers and combat specialists," she continued. "They are the best we have. They can provide training, defensive strategies, anything to give your people a fighting chance." Zyler's eyes widened. "You would do this, even without official sanction?" "We are soldiers, Ambassador," Eva said. "We fight for what is right. Give us time to prepare. We will arrive as soon as possible." The journey to Alicia was tense. Eva and her team knew they were acting against orders. But their resolve only grew stronger with each passing hour. Among the team was a handful of soldiers along with a scientist and engineer, ready to help. When they arrived, Alicia was even more beautiful than the images had suggested. Rolling green hills, sparkling rivers, and cities that blended seamlessly with the natural landscape. But beneath the beauty, there was an air of fear. Zyler greeted them at the landing site, along with a young engineer named Jax. He was bright and eager, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and apprehension. "Welcome to Alicia, Captain Rostova," Zyler said. "We are eternally in your debt." "We're here to help, Ambassador," Eva replied. "But we need to work quickly. The Carewell will be here soon." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Eva's team worked tirelessly, training the Elysian people in basic combat techniques, setting up defensive perimeters, and adapting human technology to Elysian infrastructure. Jax proved to be an invaluable asset. He quickly grasped the principles of human weaponry and helped modify them to suit Elysian needs. He even managed to integrate Earth Defense Force shield technology into the city's power grid. "Your technology is incredible, Captain," Jax said one evening as they worked late into the night. "It's so much more advanced than anything we have." "Necessity is the mother of invention," Eva replied grimly. "We've had to fight for everything we have." As the defenses were being set up, the Carewell arrived. The Carewell descended upon Alicia like a plague of locusts. Their ships blotted out the sky, and their ground troops swarmed across the landscape, consuming everything in their path. Eva and her team fought alongside the Elysian people, repelling wave after wave of Carewell attackers. The human weapons proved devastatingly effective, and the Elysians' quick learning helped the defense a lot. Even the modified shield around the city held strong, protecting the civilian population. But the Carewell were relentless. Their numbers seemed endless. Eva knew that they couldn't hold out forever. Then, Jax came to her with an idea. He had studied the Carewell's energy signatures and discovered a vulnerability in their communication network. "If we can disrupt their network, Captain," he said, "we can scatter their forces. They rely on a hive mind. Without it, they'll be disorganized and vulnerable." It was a long shot, but it was their only hope. Eva assembled a small team, including herself and Jax, and set out to infiltrate the Carewell's command center. The mission was fraught with danger. They fought their way through hordes of Carewell warriors, dodging energy blasts and evading swarms of razor-winged drones. But they pressed on, driven by the hope of saving Alicia. Finally, they reached the command center. It was a grotesque chamber filled with pulsating bioorganic technology. Jax worked feverishly, hacking into the Carewell network and uploading a disruptive virus. The effect was immediate. The Carewell forces began to falter, their movements erratic, their attacks uncoordinated. The Elysian defenders seized the opportunity, pushing back the invaders with renewed vigor. The tide had turned. The Carewell, their hive mind shattered, were routed. Their ships fled into the void, leaving behind a trail of wreckage and despair. Alicia was safe. Eva and her team returned to the city, hailed as heroes. Zyler embraced her, his eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "You saved us, Captain," he said. "You saved our world." Eva smiled, but her thoughts were already turning to the consequences of her actions. Volkov would be furious. She would likely face a court-martial. But as she looked at the faces of the Elysian people, at their joy and relief, she knew she had done the right thing. Once upon a time, on a planet far from Earth called Varenthia, the locals found themselves in a great trouble. Varenthia was a beautiful place filled with lush green forests, towering mountains, and sparkling rivers. The Varenthians were peaceful beings, known for their gentle ways and love for nature. However, a cruel invader named Zarkan had come to their planet, taking their resources and terrorizing the inhabitants. The Varenthians decided they needed help. They remembered tales of powerful beings from a distant world called Earth. These beings were said to be fearless and strong. So, in desperation, they sent a plea for aid across the vastness of space, hoping for help. On a warm summer day on Earth, a group of friends sat in a park. Among them were Jenna, a brave young woman with a heart full of kindness, Marcus, an intelligent inventor with a love for technology, and Leo, a former soldier who had a deep sense of justice. They spent their time dreaming of adventures and imagining far-off worlds. One day, as they relaxed under a big oak tree, a strange light filled the sky. The friends looked up and saw a glowing ball of energy drifting toward them. Suddenly, it burst open, and from it came a holographic figure of a Varenthian. The creature was tall, with shimmering blue skin and bright eyes that sparkled like the stars. It spoke in a soothing voice, "Humans of Earth, we need your help. Our planet is in danger from the tyrant Zarkan. Please come to our aid." The friends were amazed. Jenna felt a surge of excitement in her heart. "We have to go. We can help them," she exclaimed. Marcus thought for a moment. "But we don't even know how to travel to their world," he said, scratching his head. Leo, always ready for a challenge, stood up and said, "If they are in trouble, we can figure it out. Let's go." The holographic figure smiled at their determination. "Thank you. I will send a ship for you." Before they knew it, a sleek silver spaceship landed in the park, its surface gleaming in the sunlight. The friends jumped aboard, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Inside the ship, they were amazed by the advanced technology. The control panels were filled with buttons and screens, all glowing with light. A warm voice guided them, "Prepare for launch." The ship took off, soaring through the atmosphere and beyond. The friends marveled as they passed stars and planets. Soon, they arrived on Varenthia. The landscape was even more beautiful than they had imagined, but the air was filled with tension. The Varenthians welcomed them with grateful smiles. A leader named Alara stepped forward. She explained, "Zarkan has taken our resources and enslaved many of our people. We fear he will destroy our home if we do not stop him." Jenna, Marcus, and Leo exchanged determined glances. They could see the sadness in the Varenthians' eyes and knew they had to act. "We need a plan," Marcus said, his mind racing with ideas. "What can we use against Zarkan?" Alara explained that Zarkan had a large fortress in the mountains, well guarded by machines and creatures who obeyed his orders. "We must gather our forces and launch a surprise attack," Leo suggested. The Varenthians looked uncertain, but Jenna encouraged them, "If we work together, we can do this." Over the next few days, the humans trained with the Varenthians, combining their skills. Jenna taught them how to be brave and work as a team. Marcus designed new gadgets using Earth technology. He created glowing shields that could protect them and weapons that could disable Zarkan's machines. Meanwhile, Leo shared his combat skills, teaching everyone how to move swiftly and silently. When the day of the attack arrived, the group felt a mix of fear and excitement. A large number of Varenthians joined the humans, ready to fight for their freedom. Alara gathered everyone and said, "Today, we fight not just for our planet but for our freedom and our families. Let's show Zarkan that we will not back down." As they approached the fortress, the friends noticed how heavily guarded it was. Machines patrolled the area, their eyes glowing red. Zarkan's forces were menacing, but Jenna and her friends led the charge. They stepped forward, fearlessly confronting the enemies. Marcus used his gadgets, throwing dazzling lights that confused the machines. The Varenthians seized the opportunity, using their agility and skills to attack. The battle was fierce, with sounds of clashing metal and shouts echoing in the air. Jenna fought side by side with Alara, inspiring everyone around her. Just when they thought they were losing ground, Leo spotted Zarkan watching from a higher platform, laughing at the chaos. "We need to take him down," he shouted. Jenna nodded, her determination growing stronger. They dashed towards the platform, fighting through the crowd of guards. When they reached Zarkan, he looked furious. "You dare challenge me, Earthlings," he snarled. "You will regret this." With a swift motion, he activated a giant weapon aimed at them. The friends felt fear rise in their hearts, but they knew they couldn't turn back now. Together, they fought against Zarkan, combining their strengths. Leo distracted him while Jenna and Alara worked as a team, launching a coordinated attack. Marcus hacked into Zarkan's weapon, causing it to malfunction. Finally, with one last push, they managed to overpower Zarkan, bringing him crashing down. With Zarkan defeated, the remaining enemies surrendered. The Varenthians cheered, their voices filled with joy. They had reclaimed their home. Alara turned to Jenna, Marcus, and Leo, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "You have saved us. Thank you for your bravery and friendship." The friends smiled, knowing they had made a real difference. As they prepared to return to Earth, the Varenthians gifted them with beautiful crystals, a sign of their bond. Jenna, Marcus, and Leo stepped aboard their ship, hearts full of pride. As the ship took off, they looked back at Varenthia, its beauty and resilience shining brightly. They had answered a call for help and formed friendships that would last a lifetime. Earth may have been their home, but now they also had a place among the stars. Here is the story. The distress signal pulsed weakly across the galactic net, a desperate plea from a small, agrarian planet named Ava. Ravaged by a sudden and brutal invasion by the KRWL, insectoid warriors known for their ruthless efficiency, Ava was on the brink of collapse. The KRWL, with their chitinous armor and bioengineered weapons, were overwhelming Ava's defenses. The Galactic Council, a bureaucratic and often sluggish organization, debated the merits of intervention. Ava was a non-member world, its resources were minimal, and the KRYLL were a formidable force. The debate dragged on for weeks, filled with cautious pronouncements and political maneuvering. Meanwhile, on Earth, a young lieutenant named Eva Rostova monitored the galactic net from her station at the Lunar Defense Command. Bored with routine scans and simulated wargames, Eva craved action, a chance to prove herself. When the Ava distress signal flickered across her screen, something resonated within her. The sheer desperation in the message, the raw terror of a world facing annihilation, stirred a sense of responsibility she couldn't ignore. Earth, still recovering from its own internal conflicts and wary of entangling itself in galactic politics, was not a member of the Galactic Council. However, Earth had something the Council lacked: a population hardened by centuries of conflict, a fierce independent streak, and a deep-seated aversion to bullies. Eva, fueled by a potent mix of empathy and defiance, took a risk. Using a secure channel, she bypassed protocol and sent the Ava distress signal directly to General Marcus Thorne, the gruff but fair commander of Earth's unified military forces. Thorne, a veteran of countless battles, was a man of few words and decisive action. He saw the Ava signal not as a political problem, but as a moral imperative. He remembered Earth's own struggles, the times when survival hinged on the kindness of strangers. He knew that turning a blind eye was not an option. Within hours, Thorne had assembled a task force. It wasn't a massive fleet, but a carefully chosen group of highly skilled soldiers and advanced technology. The centerpiece was the Dauntless, a newly commissioned warship bristling with experimental weaponry. Eva, to her surprise and delight, was assigned to the Dauntless as a tactical officer. This was her chance. She wouldn't waste it. The Dauntless warped into Ava's system to find a scene of devastation. KRWL ships swarmed in the skies, raining fire upon the planet. Cities burned, and the air was thick with smoke and the stench of decay. The Galactic Council's official response, a single unarmed observer ship, hung back in the outer system, its crew passively recording the unfolding tragedy. Thorne, never one for subtlety, ordered immediate engagement. The Dauntless, with its superior firepower and advanced shielding, tore through the KRWL blockade. Railguns roared, lasers sliced through enemy ships, and missile volleys obliterated entire squadrons. Eva, her fingers flying across the tactical console, coordinated the Dauntless defenses and targeting. She anticipated enemy maneuvers, identified weak points, and directed the ship's fire with ruthless precision. On the ground, Captain Anya Petrova led a squad of elite Earth Marines. Dropping from low orbit in heavily armored transports, they landed near Ava's capital city, a sprawling metropolis now under siege. The Ava Defenders, a ragtag collection of farmers, factory workers, and hastily trained militia, fought bravely, but they were outmatched. The KRWL, with their superior numbers and brutal tactics, were slowly grinding them down. Petrova's Marines, clad in powered armor and armed with pulse rifles, were a shock to the KRL. The Marines moved with coordinated efficiency, their weapons spitting lethal bursts of energy. KRL warriors fell in droves, their chitinous armor offering little protection against Earth's advanced weaponry. The tide of the battle began to turn. The Ava defenders, inspired by the arrival of these fierce warriors from Earth, fought with renewed vigor. They pushed back the KRL, retaking lost ground and liberating captured civilians. The KRYL, realizing they were facing a far more formidable opponent than they had anticipated, sent a message to the Dauntless, demanding to know who these interlopers were. Thorn, his voice crackling over the comms, responded with a simple, chilling declaration: "We are the Deathworlders of Earth, and we are here to help." The KRYL, unfamiliar with Earth and its reputation, were confused. But they quickly learned the meaning of the term Deathworlder. Earth was a planet with a high gravity, a turbulent atmosphere, and a diverse range of deadly predators. Only the strong survived on Earth, and those who survived were forged into warriors. The KRYL redoubled their efforts, throwing wave after wave of warriors against the Earth Marines and the Ava defenders. But it was no use. The Deathworlders were too strong, too resilient, and too determined. Eva, still at her station on the Dauntless, devised a daring plan. Using the ship's advanced sensors, she located the KRYL command ship, a heavily armored vessel hidden deep within the KRYL fleet. Without hesitation, Eva plotted a course for the Dauntless to intercept the command ship. Thorn, trusting Eva's judgment, gave the order to engage. The Dauntless plowed through the KRYL fleet, dodging enemy fire and unleashing a devastating barrage of its own. Reaching the command ship, the Dauntless unleashed its full firepower. The KRYL ship, unable to withstand the onslaught, exploded in a blinding flash. With the destruction of their command ship, the KRYL forces fell into disarray. Their attacks became disorganized, their morale crumbled, and their will to fight evaporated. The Ava defenders, seizing the opportunity, launched a counteroffensive. With the support of the Earth Marines, they pushed the KRYL back, driving them from their cities and out of their territory. Within days, the KRYL invasion was broken. The remaining KRYL ships fled the system, leaving behind a trail of wreckage and despair. Ava was free. The people of Ava, exhausted but jubilant, hailed the Earthlings as heroes. They showered them with gratitude, offering them gifts and praising their courage. The Galactic Council, belatedly arriving on the scene, was both impressed and wary. They had expected to find a conquered world, ripe for exploitation. Instead, they found a liberated planet, fiercely independent and deeply grateful to the Deathworlders of Earth. The Council representatives approached Thorn, offering Earth membership in the Council. Thorn, after a moment's consideration, politely declined. Earth, he explained, had no interest in galactic politics. They had come to Ava to help, and they would leave once the job was done. As the Dauntless prepared to depart, Eva stood on the bridge, gazing out at the liberated world. She had come to Ava seeking adventure, but she had found something far more meaningful, a sense of purpose, a chance to make a difference. She knew that Earth's actions on Ava would have far-reaching consequences. The galaxy had learned that the Deathworlders of Earth were not to be trifled with. They were a force to be reckoned with, a power that would stand up for the weak and defend the innocent. Title: they asked for aid, but the Deathworlders of Earth came instead. On a distant planet called Zenth, life was simple yet hard. The people of Zenth, known as the Zenthians, lived in peace surrounded by vast green fields, majestic mountains, and deep blue oceans. However, their serene world faced a looming threat. A fierce group of space raiders, known as the Travons, had begun to attack their settlements. The Zenthians needed help to protect their homes and families. One day, a group of Zenthians gathered in the town square. They held a meeting under the golden sun, filled with worry and fear. At the center of the gathering was Eldon, the village chief. His long gray hair and wise eyes made him respected among the people. "We cannot fight the Travons alone," Eldon said, his voice steady but heavy. "We must send a message across the stars, asking for aid. We need to unite with other planets. Perhaps other civilizations can lend us their strength." The crowd murmured in agreement. After much discussion, they decided to send a distress signal. They hoped that a friendly race would hear their call and come to help. With hope in their hearts, they activated the holographic communicator and sent their plea into the vast cosmos. Back on Earth, the human race was known for its courage and resilience. They were called Deathworlders, not because they were evil, but because they thrived under the challenges of a harsh planet. Earth was filled with dangers, from gigantic storms to wild beasts. The humans had learned to survive and adapt. In a small village in Montana, a young woman named Tara watched the stars. She dreamed of adventure beyond Earth. One night, while gazing at the sky, she saw a bright light shooting through the darkness. It was a message, a plea for help. Excitement rushed through her veins. This could be my chance, she thought. I must tell the others. Tara ran to the nearby community center. Inside, a group of friends was playing games. She burst through the door, breathless. Guys, I saw a message from another planet. They need our help. At first, her friends thought she was joking. But as she explained, their expressions changed from disbelief to curiosity. Are you serious? Asked Jake, her best friend. He had always been fascinated by space. We can't just ignore it. Together, they gathered a small group of brave souls. Besides Tara and Jake, there was Leo, a clever engineer, and Maria, a skilled fighter. They decided to form a team. The message guided them to an old spaceship hidden in the woods, once a relic of humanity's exploration. With Leo's skills, they repaired the ship, and after a few days, they were ready to leave Earth. Hold on! We're about to enter the unknown! Tara shouted as they launched into the stars. The team shared laughter and excitement, surrounded by the vastness of space. After a long journey, they finally reached Zenth. The planet was a view of beauty, green fields, sparkling waters, and friendly creatures. However, the fear of the Travons loomed large in the air. When Tara and her friends landed, they were met by a group of Zenthians led by Eldon. The two groups looked at each other with curiosity. Welcome, brave Deathworlders, Eldon said, bowing slightly. You have answered our call. We are grateful, but this is not an easy fight. We're ready for anything, Jake replied confidently. Eldon introduced the Zenthians to their world, explaining their customs and bonding over shared stories. The humans learned how to blend their knowledge with the ways of the Zenthians. They trained together, forming a powerful alliance. Days passed as they prepared for battle. They built traps, practiced combat skills, and shared meals around a fire under the stars. Tara felt a strong bond growing between them. Even in their differences, they were united by one purpose. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, they received terrifying news. The Travons had been spotted approaching their village. The time to fight was now. Eldon gathered the Zenthians and humans. This is our moment. We fight together, he declared, his voice echoing through the crowd. With determination, the two groups set up defenses. The Zenthians created barriers, while the humans used their advanced technology to prepare weapons. Soon, the day grew dark as the raiders arrived. The clash began, and chaos erupted. The Travons charged with fierce roars, while the combined forces of humans and Zenthians stood strong. Tara wielded a blaster with surprising skill. Jake, armed with a sword, fought alongside Leo, who used gadgets to distract their enemies. Amid the battle, Maria saw a group of Travons trying to flank them. Without thinking, she ran toward them and shouted, "Hey! Over here!" The raiders turned, distracted by her courage, and she fought with all her might. Eldon fought valiantly beside her. Together, they pushed the Travons back. The tides of battle changed as the humans and Zenthians worked in harmony, each saving the other. Finally, after relentless fighting, the enemy began to retreat. The combined strength of the Deathworlders and the Zenthians had overwhelmed the Travons. They celebrated their victory, adrenaline pumping through their veins. "We did it!" Leo shouted, his face lit with joy. Eldon nodded, pride shining in his eyes. "We are forever grateful. You have saved our world." The humans and Zenthians celebrated their newfound friendship under a sky filled with stars. Tara knew this adventure was just the beginning. They had united two worlds, and they could face anything together. As they looked up at the cosmos, they realized that sometimes the call for help reveals true allies in unexpected places. Together, they had become a beacon of hope, proving that courage can bridge any distance in the vast universe. Characters: Zorgan, a Garganite, an alien species from the planet Gargan. Captain Eva Rostova, a human, captain of the starship Dauntless. They asked for aid, but the Deathworlders of Earth came instead. The Garganites were not warriors. They were thinkers, builders, artists. Their home world, Gargan, was a testament to their peaceful nature, a planet of gleaming cities and lush gardens. But peace, Zorgan knew, was a fragile thing. And now, it was shattering. The Kryll, an insectoid species with a hunger for conquest, had arrived. Their ships, like swarms of angry wasps, filled the Garganite sky. Their weapons tore through the energy shields that had always seemed so impenetrable. The Garganites, never having truly known war, were defenseless. Zorgan, a high-ranking member of the Garganite Council, watched the chaos unfold from the council chambers. The Kryll were relentless, their ground troops overwhelming the hastily assembled defense forces. Hope dwindled with each passing hour. "We must send a message," Zorgan declared to the council, his voice tight with desperation. "A plea for help. To any species who will listen." The message was sent, a desperate beacon cast into the vastness of space. It detailed the Garganite plight, their peaceful nature, and their desperate need for assistance. They waited, hearts pounding, for an answer. Days turned into agonizing weeks. Many species acknowledged the plea, offering condolences, humanitarian aid that would arrive too late, or simply silence. Then, a response. A single word, transmitted with surprising force: affirmative. The ship that arrived was unlike anything the Garganites had ever seen. It was sleek, dark, and bristling with weaponry. It dwarfed even the Kryll battleships. It was called the Dauntless, and it belonged to the species known as humans, from the planet Earth. A planet classified in the galactic database as a death world. Zorgan, along with a delegation of council members, was transported to the Dauntless. The interior was functional, utilitarian, and warm. The air was thick with a scent Zorgan couldn't quite place, something vaguely metallic and alive. They were led to the bridge, where a woman stood, her back to them. She turned as they approached. She was tall, with sharp features and piercing blue eyes. Her uniform was simple, but it spoke of authority. This was Captain Eva Rostova. "Welcome to the Dauntless," she said, her voice cool and professional. "I am Captain Rostova. You requested assistance." Zorgan stepped forward, his 3 hearts pounding in his chest. "Captain Rostova, we are the Garganite Council. We thank you for answering our plea. We are a peaceful species, under attack by the Kryll. We have little means to defend ourselves." Rostova listened intently, her gaze unwavering. When Zorgan finished, she simply nodded. "We understand the situation. We have reviewed the Kryll tactics. They are unrefined." Unrefined, Zorgan thought. They were crushing the Garganites. What will you do?" he asked, hesitantly. Rostova smiled, a predatory glint in her eyes. "We will show them what happens when you prey on the weak." What followed was a display of power the Garganites could scarcely comprehend. The Dauntless, seemingly alone, engaged the Kryll fleet. Human ships appeared as if from nowhere, tearing through the Kryll lines with frightening efficiency. Their weapons were devastating, their tactics brutal and effective. The Kryll, so confident in their superiority, were caught completely off guard. Zorgan watched, awestruck, as the battle unfolded. The humans fought with a ferocity that seemed almost joyful. They moved with a speed and precision that defied logic. They were relentless, unyielding, and utterly terrifying. The battle raged for days, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Kryll fleet was decimated, their ground forces routed. The Garganites watched as their oppressors were driven from their world, their cities saved, their people freed. When the last Kryll ship had been destroyed, Captain Rostova contacted the council. "The Kryll are gone," she said, her voice devoid of emotion. "Gargan is secure." Zorgan didn't know what to say. Gratitude, relief, and a healthy dose of fear warred within him. "Captain Rostova," he finally managed, we owe you everything. How can we repay you? Rostova paused for a moment, as if considering the question. We require nothing, she said. Except, we would like to study your technology, your culture, to understand how a species so peaceful could survive in this galaxy. The Gargonites readily agreed. Over the next few months, humans descended upon Gargan. They were scientists, engineers, historians, and warriors. They studied everything, from Gargonite architecture to their philosophy. They were curious, inquisitive, and surprisingly respectful. Zorgan spent a great deal of time with Captain Rostova. He learned about Earth, about human history, about the wars they had fought, the challenges they had overcome. He learned about their capacity for both incredible violence and profound compassion. Why did you come? Zorgan asked her one day, as they stood overlooking the rebuilt Gargonite capital. Why risk so much for a species you didn't even know? Rostova looked out at the city, her expression unreadable. We have a saying on Earth, she said. Speak softly and carry a big stick. We prefer peace, but we are not afraid to fight. And we will always stand against those who prey on the weak. Zorgan pondered her words. He realized that the humans were not simply warriors. They were protectors. They were a shield against the darkness, a force for justice in a galaxy filled with cruelty. You are Deathworlders, Zorgan said, but you are also a saviors. Rostova smiled, a hint of sadness in her eyes. We are what we need to be, she said, to survive. As the humans prepared to leave, Zorgan felt a pang of sadness. He knew that the Gargonites would never be the same. They had seen the darkness, and they had been saved by the light. They had learned that peace was not simply the absence of war, but the presence of strength. Thank you, Captain Rostova, Zorgan said, as she stood on the ramp of the Dauntless. Thank you for everything. Rostova nodded. Farewell, Zorgan. May your world know peace. The Dauntless rose into the sky, a dark silhouette against the Gargonite sun. As it disappeared into the stars, Zorgan knew that the galaxy had changed. The humans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. The Gargonites, once defenseless and naive, now understood the harsh realities of the galaxy. They began to build their own defenses, to train their own warriors. They learned from the humans, adapting their tactics and technology. They were still a peaceful species, but they were no longer vulnerable. And as they looked to the stars, they knew that if they ever needed help again, the Deathworlders of Earth would be there. For better or worse.